Before I start off today's show, I wanted to give a special shout out to a special little listener that I have who's 6 years old. He just turned 6 on Thursday. He's one of my loyal followers and loyal subscribers, and thank you for following my videos, Preston, and happy birthday to you. Now, unfortunately, Preston wasn't able to celebrate his birthday party today. It was scheduled today because of some bad news, and he was very upset about that. But you know what, Preston, that'll be okay. I'm sure it'll be rescheduled, and you're going to get plenty of presents, and you're going to get plenty of things to do, and you're going to have a great time. So you know what, Preston, have a great birthday, and take care, buddy, and thank you for listening to this video, and also make sure you like this video and leave a comment. Hey, everyone, how you doing? Final score from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Notre Dame 45, Pittsburgh 3. Notre Dame won this game in dominant fashion, absolutely. A lot of things to go over, but there is some disturbing news and some bad news and some kind of news that really just ticks me off, because now we have to hear this for the rest of the college football season. And that is that the Big Ten started up today, and that means that the University of Michigan will play tonight against Minnesota. And now for the next 8 to 9 weeks, we're going to have to hear how great Michigan football is. And we're going to have to hear how great Jim Harbaugh is, which he's completely accomplished absolutely nothing. This is the only negative thing about college football, is that we have to hear about how great Michigan is and how good of a season they're going to have and how many great players Michigan has and how their quarterback is going to prove everyone wrong and how they're going to have this great quarterback that's going to take the next step for Jim Harbaugh, as he's continued to struggle with a good quarterback at Michigan. We hear the same shit every year. Michigan will probably lose 2 games to Ohio State, and hopefully tonight, and then they'll go to a bowl game and lose 3 games like they do every year. So for now on, for the rest of the college football season, you're just going to hear me completely not give Michigan any credit. So you know what the impressive thing is, that they're actually starting a game on the road, and they're not going to have 90% of their games played at the Big House in Michigan. By the way, I don't know if you've ever been to Ann Arbor. Ann Arbor is a beautiful city. It's a beautiful town. Unfortunately, the University of Michigan there, and the University of Michigan Stadium is a complete dump because it's literally in the middle of a city. It's not like most of these colleges where their stadium is in the middle of the campus and it has the river running through it, or the buildings and all the school buildings and all the dorms, and just has the scenery to it, the pageantry to it, the atmosphere to it. That's not what Michigan. Basically, Michigan would be in the middle of like downtown Hammond. That's what their stadium's like. So, it's the only negative bad thing about college football is Michigan, and they're starting up tonight. But let's get back to the Notre Dame game. 45-3 over Pittsburgh. A little bit of a weird game. Going into this game, the experts were saying that this was going to be a close game. Notre Dame was going to have to pass the ball better. Not Clemson. I'm getting ahead of myself. That's 2 weeks away. Pittsburgh's defense was able to stop Notre Dame's passing game. We're going to hear how great Pittsburgh's run defense is. By the way, Pittsburgh does have a great run defense. They were averaging 61 yards given up by their defense against the run in 6 games. That's pretty impressive. Pittsburgh has had a little bit of an up and down season. They started off very hot, won 3 in a row, then lost 3 in a row. And then the 3 games that they have lost have been very close. They had 2 heartbreakers, one by a missed extra point in overtime, and of course last weekend against Miami. They were actually in that game up until the 3rd quarter. They were down 21-16, but Miami pulled away. So Pittsburgh's hit a little bit of a rough patch here, and also they lost their starting quarterback for the year to an injury. They're saying that he could be back about 3 to 4 weeks from now, but you never know with injuries in college football, so we'll have to see how that goes. But you know what? This was like one of the biggest lopsided losses of the year against Notre Dame, and I believe this is their 4th loss in a row. Now, last weekend I criticized Notre Dame's defense. Last weekend I criticized Notre Dame's offense line. I criticized everything, and I want to take something back. And I was a little too excited, and I was a little too negative, and I know I can be completely brutal and completely honest. Notre Dame's defense saved them in the game last weekend, and their defense played superb today. Even though Pittsburgh was playing with their secondary quarterback, their backup quarterback, Notre Dame's defense was just absolutely destroying Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, I know they've been struggling. They haven't been able to run the ball very well. They haven't been able to pass the ball very well downfield. But Notre Dame completely shut them down. Now, if Notre Dame's defense and Notre Dame's offensive line plays like this, they'll be a much better team. Now, I hope Notre Dame learns something from this, and I hope they're a little bit more consistent. I do not want to see them have another game like they did against Louisville last weekend. That was a bad a bad way to win. And I hate to hear the expression, well, a win is a win. No, you can tell by a team when you win very poorly or win very badly. Like, I don't like the term winning ugly. I know that term is used a lot in baseball. A lot of teams who win ugly have won the World Series in the past, but with college football, I think it's different. But today, I was very impressed with their defense. Now, their offense, Pittsburgh did have 3 turnovers. Notre Dame scored on 2 of them, and also Notre Dame blocked a punt and scored on that as well, so that's 21 points giving up by Pittsburgh. But the game was over at halftime. The only thing that really bothered me about this is that I think that Notre Dame needs to work on their receivers a little bit better. I mean, Ian Book did have 312 yards and 3 touchdowns today, but a lot of those passes he threw today were up for grabs. And Michael Mayer actually had a very good catch there. He had to reach up and catch the ball even above his head. He's 6'3". He's a big dude, and he was able to catch it running for the end zone. But I want to be able to see these receivers get some separation. I want to be able to see these receivers do some athletic plays to get the ball and get away, because it seemed like every time that the receiver caught the ball today, they were always in traffic or they were always in a lane with the secondary right there. I want to see separation. I want to see some speed. Now, I will give Ian Book some credit, though. He did not give up. He fluxed out of the pocket. I believe he had over 30 yards of rushing on 10 runs. He was very impressive today out of the pocket. The offensive line gave him plenty of time to throw the ball. But the thing that concerned me was receivers weren't able to get open. And the thing that really bothers me is that when your running back and your tight ends are your best receivers on this football team, that's concerning. You want to see your receiver core get better. You want to be able to see your receivers, like I said, have separation and be able to play much better. Play a jet sweep. Maybe do a play action fake or a bootleg. Do something creative. Like, the only thing that really bothers me is that when they go up against Clemson in 2 weeks from now, and let's say Clemson shuts their running down and Notre Dame can't run the ball on Clemson, then Ian Book's going to be forced to pass. That's going to be concerning. So I am not looking really excited for that Clemson game. I got a lot of worries about that game, but we'll have to see. Notre Dame does play Georgia Tech next weekend. That game is on 2:30 on ABC. If Notre Dame plays very well against Georgia Tech, they learn from this game and they excel from this game, then they should be ready to go up against Clemson in a couple weeks. I still have my doubts. However, you don't want to see them play ahead and keep Georgia Tech in that game. Notre Dame will be easily predicted to win over Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech's not having a good year, but in college football, it's different. It's tricky. Any given weekend, there could be a major upset if you catch a team looking ahead to a big game for the week ahead. You don't want that to happen. I don't think it'll happen. That game is on Halloween night. So hopefully there's no special tricks or no evil magic out there. Notre Dame struggles and they barely get past Georgia Tech. I want to see a dominating win so they can be ready for Clemson. But like I said, please just get some separation with the receivers and be a little bit more athletic and just not have Ian Book just throw the ball up there and play up for grabs, because that could be a very dangerous game, because that can lead to many turnovers. And by the way, there was a stat on here that really interested me. Pittsburgh today had more penalties than first downs. They had 12 penalties and 10 first downs. I mean, that just shows you how bad Pittsburgh was today. Or does that tell you how undisciplined they are? Or does that tell you that they're falling apart? Or maybe Notre Dame's defense is so good that they're frustrated them to cause these penalties. But a lot of these penalties were pass interference, roughing the passer, and false starts. So that, Notre Dame wouldn't have anything to do with that. But Pittsburgh is falling apart, man. They had 3 straight wins, and then now they've had their 4th straight loss. It looked like they were at one point in the top 25, and they just completely fell apart there. And this was like their biggest lopsided loss of the year. So you know what? I'll it's a win, but like I said, get a little bit better on the passing, get a little bit better on the separation. Now you're probably saying, B-Man, you're crazy. They had 312 yards in passing today. Book completed over 50% of his passes. Yeah, but I didn't like the way that he passed. There was a lot of passes where he was under duress. There was a lot of passes where he just looked really sloppy. And I just want to see some separation. I don't want to see a receiver in the middle of a lane with a bunch of traffic and catch the ball. I want to see the receiver at least 3 or 4 yards ahead of the secondary, catches the ball, runs for 15 yards, or even runs for 50 yards for a touchdown. I want to see more of that. Not this catching the ball in the middle of 94 with cars all around you, and you got to dodge and get around the cars and miss the cars. I don't want that. That's the kind of analogy I'm using. I don't want to play Frogger, basically, with the receivers, and that needs to get a lot better. Now, this is what Notre Dame might be. I mean, we might have to accept this. Like, who is Notre Dame after 5 games? As Notre Dame improves to 5-0, is that, listen, the receiver core is not that good. It's not that really experienced. And you're going to have to rely on Michael Mayer. You're going to have to rely on your running backs. And you're going to have to rely on other tight ends to catch the ball and move your offense forward if you cannot run the ball. And that sometimes can shoot you in the foot. But hopefully Notre Dame doesn't get in that position against Clemson. I would like to see Notre Dame move the ball up and down the field really well against Clemson, but realistically, are they going to? We'll have to see. You know, Clemson did struggle a little bit today against Syracuse in that first half, but they pulled away in the second half. And also this game will be in November, the second week of November in South Bend. Hopefully it'll be colder weather. But you know what? Clemson's a good team. I don't care how cold it is or how hot it is. Clemson will be ready to play that game. I don't like trying to use those weather analogies or those weather scenarios. Well, the weather can slow down a team from Florida or a team from a warm state, and maybe Clemson's not ready. Maybe Clemson's not used to playing in colder weather where the wind's blowing in your face. No, Clemson will be ready, believe me, and that'll be the biggest game of the year, and that will also be on NBC. So we'll just have to see. Take one weekend at a time. Like I said, next game is against Georgia Tech at 2:30 on Halloween. And we'll see how Notre Dame plays against them. But like I said, please improve your passing and get some separation. Be more creative in the play calling. Now, there was one thing that really, listen, I know Notre Dame won 45-3, and you're probably thinking, God, you gripe too much, man. But there was a scenario where they were driving, and then there was a terrible offensive pass interference call. It was 1st and 24. Brian Kelly, Tommy Reese decided to run the ball 3 times in a row. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing? The game was a little tight then. Like, what the hell were you doing? Why would you run the ball 3 times in a row? Give Ian Book some confidence. Maybe give his receiver some confidence. Maybe do a jet sweep, like I said, or a play action fake bootleg. Or even in that situation, do a screen because you have so many yards to give up. But don't do a screen on 3rd down like you did last weekend against Louisville. So that really annoyed me. Every once in a while, you see Brian Kelly do that with his play calling, or when his offensive coordinator is play calling. They do these stupid run plays where it's like 1st and forever or 2nd forever, and they don't throw the ball. So that left me scratching my head. Again, you know, Brian Kelly with some of his decision and his offensive coordinators who make play calling. Like, you got to be able to protest that. Be like, dude, let's not run the ball up the middle on 1st and 24. Let's do some sort of pass play. Give our quarterback some confidence, like I said. Give your receiver some confidence, because right now the story of Notre Dame is that they can't pass the ball, and all they can do is run the ball. These kids listen to the critics, believe me. And I do not want to see Notre Dame live by the run and die by the run. That is dangerous. You cannot be too one-dimensional. So they need to learn from this game, excel, and hopefully next weekend against Georgia Tech, Ian Book has another passing gain of 300 yards or more and more touchdowns. Now, a lot of people are thinking, well, why was Notre Dame throwing the ball in the second half when they were up big? Well, the reason why that is simple is because they were trying to experiment with their receivers. They were trying to find what they had. They were trying to figure out what plays they can run, what athleticism they have, what works and what not. So when they go up against Clemson, they'll be ready. That's why they were doing that, because I know I got a lot of texts from people saying, well, Notre Dame's running the score up on Pittsburgh here. What the heck's going on, B-Man? No, that's why they were doing that. Now, I really don't care about running the score up on people, especially Michigan. I would love to see Michigan lose 100-0 to someone. We'll still have Notre Dame, but that will have to wait until 2033 when Notre Dame plays Michigan again. God, that's such a long way away. I'm going to be 53 years old the next time Notre Dame plays Michigan. I'm going to be old. I mean, I'm already old now, but man, it's scary. But that's why they were basically passing the ball around late into the 4th quarter. But you know what? Notre Dame could have won this game by even more, but they decided to hold back. And pretty big win for Notre Dame on the road, their first road game. Of course, a couple weeks ago, their game was canceled against Wake Forest due to COVID-19. So this technically would have been their second road game. But next weekend will be their second road game of the year against Georgia Tech. So that is pretty much it, guys. Thank you for joining me. Please like this and also subscribe to my channel if you are new and you're listening to this. Even if you hate Notre Dame and if you don't agree with anything I have to say, leave a thumbs down or even leave a thumbs up. Leave a comment. It really helps. See you guys next weekend. Any breaking news comes out of Notre Dame, I will let you know as soon as possible. And stay safe, everyone, and happy early Halloween.